Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Jonathan. Thank you for joining me here on the 30-day Better You Challenge. Today is day 20, so we are 2/3 of the way through our program, and the focus for today is acts of service. Instead of asking what I can get out of the world, it's asking ourselves, what can I give? How may I serve? It's having reverence for the world around us and the life within it, and just doing nice things for people just because. Not only for the people we know and love, but also for complete strangers. It's offering our time, energy, and other resources that we can afford to give. Even if it's just a nice compliment. Have you ever had someone, like a total stranger, walk up to you and give you a really nice compliment that made you feel really good? We remember those things, right? Or if you've ever had a friend tell you like a soul level compliment that just made you feel seen and heard. I had a friend, Patrick, who's no longer with us, but he was one of the most charismatic people I've ever met in my life. And he had a way of just, I don't know, I guess he just observed things about people that just went deeper than surface level. And he just made people feel good about themselves. And he just had this powerful magnetism. And one day out of the blue, he just got my attention and said, "Jonathan, you intimidate people." And at first I was like, what? Strange compliment. But he explained, he's like, no, people like who you are and like the way that you are, and they want to be more like you. And sometimes that intimidates them. And I thought that was kind of a funny compliment, but yeah, I remembered it for some reason. It's always just sat with me, and I thought about that. I was like, wow, we really can influence the people around us. And I try to remember that in my own behaviors. Like, how do I affect other people and how do I influence them? So for some reason, this was just something he felt the need to say, and it was a compliment. I took it as a compliment, and it was a profound one, and it stuck with me ever since. If you're feeling depressed or sad in any way, this will immediately make you feel 10 times better. It works every single time, and there's just something about bringing the joy into someone else's life, even when we don't feel like we have very much joy at the time. All of a sudden, it just lifts us up. It feels like we have a positive effect on somebody else, and that we can, even though we're not feeling so good about ourselves, we can make someone else's day, and that just lifts us up naturally. It's a natural antidepressant. So in a way, there is a self-serving motive to practice acts of service and acts of kindness. It makes us feel better about ourselves. Practicing acts of service also helps shift our perspective. So often, we're just kind of focused on our own wants and our needs and looking out for ourselves, that often I think we maybe focus a little too much on ourselves. And although I would say that most people are naturally polite and well-intentioned and nice people, sometimes we have these blinders up and we're just kind of focused on our own life. And practicing acts of service really helps remove those blinders. We start training ourselves to become more aware and more observant because we're looking for ways to help others. So we become noticers. We might notice when someone needs help with something, or we might notice when someone looks like they're feeling down and maybe they just need a friend to talk to. We might notice when a friend or someone we know gets a new haircut. And so we're looking for these opportunities to serve and to practice an act of kindness and help someone. So it trains us to become more observant, more aware, and focus less on ourselves. And that's a really, really helpful and healthy quality to have. This is really good practice for you because as you become more outwardly nurturing towards the world, you're raising your own energy level, you're raising your own vibration, and like attracts like, remember? So you might find yourself making new friends and having new opportunities, and just in general, blessings are gonna come your way because you're receiving back what you're putting out into the world, and that's why it's so important. I really do believe that there is a great shift happening as we move away from a world where everybody's so guarded and you have to work really hard just to survive, and it's every man for himself, and it's all about logic and force. And instead, I think we're shifting into a world where we are more open and loving and supportive and intuitive, a place where maybe we're more guided by our hearts, which is the seat of consciousness and the place where truth presides, instead of being led by our minds, which can sometimes be deceived or confused or misguided. It may seem like a slow shift, but it's happening and we actually can observe it. Things that we couldn't talk about 20 or 30 years ago, we're now having open dialogue about it. And there's generally more acceptance. And although ignorance might still exist, it tends to take a backseat to compassion now as, quite frankly, ignorant people are becoming the minority. Prejudices are gradually being extinguished, even in our own hearts. We're all opening up. And that's why I believe that this practice of serving others is so important, because it can actually help expedite this process. You do something beautiful for someone else, and there's no telling how much of an impact you have on their lives or how much you inspire them to pay it forward. So it just keeps growing and growing and growing. So I hope you see the power of today's challenge and start to think of ways that you can create the change that you want to see in the world. Remember that you are a powerful human being. Unleash that. Step up and step into your light and shine for all the other people who may be sitting in the darkness. That's all I have for you today. We'll see you back here for day 21.